Well, we're off to the next spot, which is Prairie Campground, which will have us at Crystal River. And when we booked this part of the trip, it was in the 40s and lower 50s, and there were tons of manatees and all the little streams and hot springs, and so hopefully they'll still be there. That's what we're doing in this part of the trip. Say cheese.
Cheese. Say cheese.
Cheese.
Can't you turn your neck, can you? Aww. So we're saying goodbye to Olena State Park. It's a beautiful drive in and out.
It looks like we've survived the 3 or 4 days, maybe a week and a half of winter in Florida. The temperature outside today on February 11th, 3 days before Amateur Day. It's 1 o'clock and it's 81 degrees out. That's why you come to Florida, folks. That's why you come. In the sun. On the way to our next camping spot, notice there's a Chewy's here. So guess what? It's lunchtime. Chewy's Tex-Mex. Pretty excited about this. That didn't disappoint, did it?
No, it never does. It's really, really good. Prairie State What do you think?
We have our site tonight, and it's number 2. It's right here.
Okay.
And then we move to number 12 tomorrow.
Okay.
I'm liking number 2 quite a bit.
Good. Let's see what it looks like.
They're really, really nice. Well, good morning. Today is February 12th. It's already up to almost 80 degrees here in Central Florida. We're going to move today to another site here at the Prairie Trailhead Campground, and we're going to go take a hike and see what's here. This is what our site looks like. We'll post a few pictures of the sunset from last night too. It was a beautiful sunset, and I got to tell you, we were really surprised by this park when we got here. I don't know what we were expecting. I guess maybe really, really rustic, and every site here is a pull through, and every site has 50 amp and water, and people are just awesome. Road coming in was paved and perfect, and I don't know, it's one of these things where I thought, wow, this is going to be like, you know, Dupuy, and it's awesome. We're pretty happy with this. Nicest host here at this site. We're in this site here, site number 2. Our site we've got to move to is site number 3, and it's even better. Our view out our van is going to be of the prairie, and the trees, and the deer that come up. Maggie's already under the table. We're going to move the van over here. Well, it's 85 degrees here in Florida. The old bright sun is shining. We're going to take Maggie. Actually, we were going to go on a hike on the trail. Maggie would not let us go without her. She's going to regret that, I bet. The host told us that a lot of people come here and want to know where they can put their kayaks in and why is it so far from the beach. I guess they don't own a map. I don't understand myself sometimes when people do that, but the thing that it doesn't have that, you know, it doesn't have any water here. The thing it has that a lot of other places don't have, miles and miles and miles and miles of trails. In fact, I think there are 4 state campgrounds that are connected with trails all through this prairie, and it's awesome to be able to be part of that. When we came off the trail, one little gate too soon. Over there's the van. Just follow the fence up to the opening and go on back over to the van. It'll work out okay. Even though every day is special for us, we wanted to book something extra special for Valentine's Day. So we booked a trip to go swim with manatees.
We're
ready to roll, aren't we? Our dear friends John and Sharon drove up from St. Petersburg and met us in Crystal River, and we set out in search of those majestic creatures.
All right, you guys have fun. Thank you. You're welcome.
Excited?
I am excited.
Me
I'm
too.
excited.
I am. Even though we've seen manatees before, nothing prepares you for being in the water with them like this. We're all having to choose the correct path because there's snakes on both sides. Well, that was a wonderful visit with John and Sharon, wasn't it?
It was.
And we got to see one manatee and a bunch of snakes.
A bunch of snakes.
And Crystal River was a good stop. We came to the crab plant, and that was a really, really good seafood lunch. And now we're going to head back over to Ross Prairie and take it easy for the rest of the day, because that was quite a bit of work to swim around there for sure. So we'll sleep well tonight. Off we go. Today's February 15th. It's a Saturday, and we're going to go for a 2.3 mile hike at Holly
Hammock Trail here at the Ross Prairie Trailhead.
I'm glad you knew that. Here we go.
Won't stop, so gonna get on the ride, twisting and turning through life. No matter how rough it gets, I'll get by. Home moves with me where I roam. It's in every dream I make my own. I'm never alone.
So if you notice that in the video so far, I'm walking like I might need to go to the bathroom or something, kind of gingerly. I woke up with my back hurting this morning. because I kind of slept in the bed funny last night. Getting the bed comfortable for me has been a wrestling match that I plan to solve sometime soon. We've tried toppers and we've tried lots of things in there because I'm a side sleeper, and no matter how I try, I can't make myself sleep any other way. Wind doesn't seem to bother you, does it? It's comfortable.
Yeah, I'm comfortable.
And I'm usually comfortable, but on this trip, my shoulder has been hurting and my knee has been hurting. So we're gonna try to solve that later. But first, this hike. So this 2.5 mile trail is something we can hike on, but they allow bike traffic as well. So we've noticed that several times we've had to get out of the way. So if you follow in our footsteps, just be careful if it's the weekend.
I know that every day will always bring me something new. Every day will bring me something new.
So if you wonder why they call this the Ross Prairie Trailhead,
Every day will bring me something new. The past, most of the time, brings me down, and my future won't exist without living now. So I spread all my footprints around, yeah. I know that every day will always bring me something new.
We had a good plan, but we didn't execute it too well. We thought the blue blazing mark was for the Holly Hammock Trail, but it turns out that's not correct. And we made a wrong turn really early on. Finally, we kept thinking, well, this is not going close to the campground. Let's look on all trails. And we were 1.5 miles off the trail. So now we're making our way back over to the beginning of the trail. And we may have to do part 2 of trying this trail out later without Maggie, because I think she's about had enough. I said my back was hurting, and it was. It's loosened up now that we've begun hiking, but the older we get, the more things like that happen, and that's just nature. That things wear out, your hips, your knees. Man, there's not much you can do about that. It did have a bearing on us choosing to live in the van and to see and do as much as we can while we're younger. And I think maybe when we turn, I don't know, we'll pick a number later, but when we get old, I don't know what that number is now. When our body won't let us, then we'll hunker down somewhere and play shuffleboard and pickleball and do all the fun things with our friends. But while our bodies will let us, I think we want to do and see as much as we can. Unless doing that is wearing out our bodies faster, which I don't think it is. I think walking now has proven to me that I've loosened up my back and I feel better. But I think that's what Lynn and I do a lot of times, is we encourage you to get out. We even say, burn your couch and get out there. I think that's a good idea. Do what you can when you're as young as you can.
and just like with Owen this morning, he didn't really feel like going for a walk because his back was hurting. But now that he's gotten out here, he feels so much better just by loosening it up. So push yourself just to do a little bit more, not too much.
But a little bit more than you're comfortable with.
Right, and hopefully it'll help you.
What's her name?
Her name's
Hi, Maggie. This is Aubrey. Aubrey, this is Maggie.
Aubrey. Hey, bud.
Which one? Sure. Good girl. You got it.
Every day will bring me something new.
We made it back.
Well, that was fun. We finished up our stay at Ross Prairie Trailhead Campground. Lynn's in Walmart here. could see back over there, getting supplies for our next stop, which will be in Cedar Key. And I thought I would take a few minutes and fill you in on the things we liked and didn't like about this campground. First of all, the showers. We stopped and took a shower today after we did the Cousin Eddie, and we feel good and clean, and they are awesome showers. Very, very clean tile bathrooms, and you wouldn't think so. There's only 14 campsites. It's very, very quiet there. The hosts of the place are just awesome. She was so nice. And they have one drive-up site that they keep available. So if you're on the road and you need a place to stop, that may be available. You should at least stop in and see. It is really close to a lot of trails. Maggie loved getting out every day and going for walks and having a good time doing that. One downside to that is it's very popular for mountain biking, and so you're going to meet a lot of bikes when you're out there, so just be prepared for that. The trails are not marked that clearly, so if you have all trails, take that with you and kind of figure out where you're supposed to go. Don't make the same mistakes we made. We turned a 2-mile hike into a 5-mile hike yesterday, but it was still a lot of fun. Each one of the sites has 50 amp and 30 amp and water. There is a 2-lane dump station that is pretty awesome that's there, but there's no sewer hookups at any site, so just be aware of that. We expected it to be kind of rough and rustic, kind of like Dupuy and some other ones that we've been to, because Trailhead usually means the campground's not the primary reason they have the facility there, but that wasn't the case. With only 14 sites, it's really clean, it's really well taken care of, and they have fire rings, and we couldn't say enough nice things about it. It's really close to Ocala, Florida, so you have shopping of every kind of variety that you would ever want, from 4 or 5 RV dealerships to 2 Walmarts to restaurants that you could eat forever. And speaking of eating, our favorite restaurant that we found while we were here was the Sweet Potato. It's near Publix, which there's a Publix really near, close by too. Now on to the things that are not as good. Apparently they paved the roads with these little bitty seashells. That's pretty common here in Florida. And they must have redone that recently, because those little guys are getting in your shoes, they get in Maggie's paws, and mainly they get all in the van. So just be prepared for that. If you come to Florida where there's sand and seashells, you can't complain about there being sand and seashells. You can't complain about there being sand and seashells. The other thing is, it was built maybe 8 or 9 years ago, and the trees have not matured, and there's not a lot of shade. There were a few days that we were there that it was a little warm. But again, you come to Florida to get out of the cold, so it's really hard to complain about it being warm, isn't it? Other than that, that's the only thing that we could think of that you could even find a reason to complain at all. Overall, we loved it there. Let's ask Maggie, how many paws up do you give it? You don't give it any paws? Maggie's looking in Walmart for her mom. She saw where she walked in, and she's going to keep her eye peeled on that door until her mommy's back and her pack is back together.
On our way to Cedar Key.
We love going to new places and checking out things we haven't seen much of. But going to a place you've been before, there's something really, really, I don't know the right word for it, peaceful, familiar, that's the right word for it. We just had a conversation about, where do you want to stay here? Where do you know, this is a first come, first serve kind of place. So do you want to go back where we were last time, or do you want to try to get up in the grass? Where do you think the bugs are going to be better or worse? And so that familiarity really, sometimes it may trump being able to see a new place. But we're excited about going to Shell Mound County Park. And the road out to get here is not bad either. All right, change of plans. We made it to Shell Mound Campground, the county park here, and we really love it here, and it's beautiful, and it's right on the water. but it's a tide that really moves in and out. There's a lot of mud and things here, and mud equals no CMs. Ow, got me. Ow, one got me there. As we were trying to back into our site, one of us left her window down, and I couldn't even see to back in. And so we got out and checked it out, figured out where we were going to stay, and then I decided we'd go ahead and back on down, and I couldn't even see to back. And so we decided that's enough. We're not going to fight no CMs for 2 days. We're going to change our plans and head somewhere else. But that's the cool thing is we don't have any reservations, and we have the freedom to do that. So,
Manatee Springs State Park. This was our second option for tonight. Hope it works out.
I think it will.
I think it will too. Do we have a spot?
We do have a spot for 2 nights.
Yay.
$21 a night, not bad at all. You can go swimming here.
Can you? With the manatee?
And there are manatees here right now. There were this morning.
Awesome.
So, I don't know, we may not
Pretty
see
cool.
any, but this morning they were there. Are you happy, Mag?
I think Maggie is happy. Looks pretty nice.
Does, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Where'd it go?
So the other place we were going to go is, I guess it's okay if you need a place to spend the night, but I got to tell you, for $14 less per night, we're at this place. What you have to give up? No cell phone coverage. There's not a cell tower within sight, but what you get, listen to this. Peace and quiet. And that's Manatee Springs. We're pretty happy about this. It was a great choice. We could stay at a place like this. Well, you may never see us again. We could stay at a place like this for a long time and be happy.
Every day brings new light to help us on our way. Always taking my breath, whether sun or rain. The wind will carry us over. That horizon we see is getting closer. This is why we live, for moments like this. This is why we live, for moments like this, yeah. The wind will carry us over. That horizon we see is getting closer. This is why we live.
We can't get a cell phone signal here, but that's okay. There's a deer that came up right to our site. Isn't that the coolest thing?
It is.
I sure wish you could talk to us.
The tail's wagging. Give up, dadgummit.
The wind will carry us over. That horizon we see is getting closer. This is why we live,
what do you do on a rainy day in a state park in Florida?
With no cell phone coverage.
No cell phone coverage.
Walk out to the end of the ramp and sit out above the river and got a roof over our heads and watch the birds fly in and hope we get to see a manatee. I like this though. This is pretty cool, isn't it?
So what's been going on with you the last couple of days?
I don't know. Been giving you a piggyback ride or something. My back's hurting. I don't know what it is. Somehow I hurt my back.
Yeah. So what's that like? Not feeling good and being in the van?
It kind of sucks, I guess. There's
It's
no place
harder,
to
isn't
go.
it?
It's harder, yeah. There are a lot of things that are more difficult in the van. There's no space. There's no space to like for you to go do something inside, so you feel like you have to leave, and there's no place to really stretch out and get comfortable. I'm pretty sure it was the bed that hurt me. Like we have a love-hate relationship with that bed that both the beds on there. So I don't know. I don't know what did it. I know that it's getting a little better.
That's good. So you've been putting heat on it and ice on it and
Yeah, I've been putting the heating pad on it, and then
did you put ice on it before
I
you
did
left? Okay, we'll do that when we get back.
yeah, I guess so.
Maggie's excited, little baby deer. Hey. Yeah. There's another one. Maggie's having a fit. The Manatee Springs has a lot of activities they offer. They have a designated swimming area, so if the manatees are up here in the springs, you can actually swim with them. They also offer canoe and kayak rentals, and they also have a boat ramp where you can bring your own, as well as a shuttle that'll pick you up 7 or 9 miles down the river. They also provide a concession stand that also has a Wi-Fi. And even if you don't camp here at the Manatee State Park, it's a great place to come and spend the day. And here we are, back at our campsite.